Today we are saving Tenpai? So it's not that we're so much as saving Tenpai as I would rather know what they're still cooking with all of their best cards at one. You know, 'cause I don't want to be taken by surprise at locals. Like, surprise, everyone's still playing this deck at locals, and all of a sudden you still lose. So, you know what? We'll have to look at the facts of what is still remaining. So let's look at the facts. Fact: Tenpai still has multiple one-card OTKs. Fact: the 4 cards that they lost technically have weaker alternatives that serve similar functions. Fact: maining shifter in this format will not be as beneficial as last format. Fact: I didn't say box, and I'm definitely not held against my will making this video. The deck lost 4 cards, 2 Chandras, and 2 Kaimen out of their deck. What does Chandra actually represent in the deck? Essentially, it's the end piece that they always want to get onto the field. If Chandra is on the field, you're likely going to die because it's the one that generates the additional monsters. So it's a free summon from deck. It is a 1-card OTK if it's on the field. If it's in the hand, you can special summon as long as you control another fire dragon, and it's also a quick synchro. And not to mention, it is the key tuner of the entire deck. So Kaimen's purpose is pretty obvious. It is the Rhoda of the deck, but during the battle phase, it also serves as an E-Tele to bring out that Chandra. It is the bridge to your Chandra plays or your Fadra that leads to the Chandra. Everything eventually points back to Chandra. So this is just your bridging piece to Chandra. TLDR, what is something that is irreplaceable that they definitely lost? The defensive maneuver of setting Kaimen and then springing it during the opponent's battle phase to create this indestructible wall of cards. And then they're going to be 100% more susceptible to hand traps because they're going to be playing more in the main phase. And there's going to be a lack of follow-up due to reduced copies of some of their best follow-up extender cards. So how do we fix that? Number 1. Increasing the existing fire monsters in the deck, and I'm looking at cards that can bridge into Chandra, and the card for my consideration at the top of the list, Dora 100%. Yes, it is a normal summon, but a normal summon you get to add to your hand a fire dragon into your hand. So Genroku and Chandra are both on that list, and they both can summon themselves out, especially the Genroku. Genroku can lead to Pydra into Sangen summoning, Sangen Kaimen. It is a lot of stuff that you can work with, but better yet, because they're already fire dragon monsters, the field spell will protect it. Sangen summoning will already protect them from activated effects, which makes it, wonderful because your opponent can't really do anything to stop you. So that's great. On the other hand, it can also act as ash bait if you are already holding certain cards. Letting a play like Dora go through feels really bad because they have to hold back on like, oh, does he have it, or am I letting them get to it and basically reach a point of no return. So it really messes people up. Even if you have the field spell, sometimes you can play Dora just to mess with your opponent, and they ash the Dora, you play the field spell, then you get Chandra, and then special summon out Chandra. They feel really, really bad. But that's a very dangerous play. I'd rather just have the safety net play of just having the immunity, because the danger is if they have a Ghost Ogre, you're going to lose your field spell along the way, and you only have 1 copy of that. So you can't be that reckless, but it is a way to bait out cards. Like Dora, you can still use it to bait out, say, like Kaimen, and then you go to battle phase, activate Kaimen, do your whole thing, and then they just get OTK'd. So these are cards you consider. You might want to up the count of your Genroku as well. Sure, it kind of sucks as well that, oh, if I had this card in my hand, then I can't have to normal summon it, but essentially it's still a Lone Fire Blossom. It's still your Samsara D Lotus. So not the worst. And you can also increase the count of Fadra if you want. I mean, this one's a bit more risky because if you increase the count of Fadra, that means you're a little more likely to break with the card. But you can only increase the count of Fadra if you also do some other things into your deck, and that starts looking into consideration numbers 2 and 3. Number 2, we have Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Croissant. It's a level 7 dragon tuner, but it changes its level back down to 3 or 4 and is a special summon. So it doesn't eat up your summon, and it can also help you synchro with your non-tuners in the main phase, and that alone is already really strong. And perhaps you can synchro into your 10 boss very, very easily because you have this card. And the reason why we consider this, it feels like a Chandra, because Chandra summons out from hand. If you have a level 3 on the board, then it's considered as a level 4 tuner, helping you synchro into Biden Dragon. So the 7 and the 10 line isn't even an issue. And if somehow you have Magnum on the board, you can target Magnum and still synchro into a 7. That's good for you. Or if you have a level 4 on board, like a Genroku that summoned itself from hand as a tuner, you can target the Genroku, turn it into a 3, and now you can synchro into the 10 while still having your Genroku on board. Go into battle phase, tag out during the battle phase, go into Chandra, and go TK your opponent. That's still another consideration that's available thanks to Destrudo. And because it just kind of functions like a main phase-esque Chandra that you can immediately use as material, so it doesn't feel that bad, and it doesn't consume your normal summon. So that's like one thing to consider. Now, in terms of supplementing the package, because we don't really want like a one-trick pony, funny. You can use Foolish Berry to dump it into the graveyard, but not only can you dump it into the graveyard, you can also dump Chandra into the graveyard or Pydra into the graveyard and revive it with Fadra. And if you're going to play Foolish Burial, you can increase the count of the Fadra just so that you have additional things for your cards to do. So you have the flexibility to pivot around your opponent's plays and pivot around your own hand as well. So that's something I think it's worth considering. Consideration number 3, we have Gold Sarc and Blaster. Now, people are standing on both sides on this one because on one hand, people are saying I can activate Gold Sarc, banish the Blaster. Blaster adds to my hand a Fire Dragon, and essentially I have my Chandra, I have my Pydra, I can have any of my dragons, and it feels really good. And it also baits out Ash if I already have some of those cards. Okay, but on the other hand, people are saying, but you're playing Blaster and you're playing Gold Sarc. You draw the Blaster, you can't play Gold Sarc. Then what do? So rather than being a one-trick pony, you have to give additional purposes to that Blaster, or you're gonna have to find other ways to kind of pivot around this particular issue. Do you want to up the Blaster count so that the Gold Sarc isn't as dead? Because Gold Sarc is at 1. If Gold Sarc was at 3, easily this would have been like a 3/3 of package, and we're playing kind of Dragon Ruler-esque, but because Gold Sarc's only at 1, it's a bit of like a Foolish Burial Saki-esque card. You're gonna break up your own ratios. So maybe you're trying to go second and all of a sudden you realize you're holding Blaster in your hand. Yes, Blaster can still be used to crack open a board, but you can't use the summoning effect out of that. And remember, you can ditch out your additional fire monster. So you can go Ash and Blaster, ditch it to pop a card. That's also a possibility if they didn't play into an Ash. On the other hand, if Blaster's in the graveyard and you somehow manage to load enough fire or dragon monsters in your graveyard or in your hand so you can get the additional summon, it's a level 7 fire dragon, and to really utilize this number, you have to use Genroku, or you have to be kind of a little bit sacky with like a Destrudo to change the level into like a 3 tuner to synchro away with it to go into the 10, or you can just keep it as a 2800 body because it's still really big and it can really shorten the range in terms of damage. But it's also quite nice that it can kind of cycle itself back and act as also link material as well. So, but I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel of what Blaster has to offer for now. But I think it's worth considering just even for the Kaiman effect alone, because the more things you have to bait against your opponent's Ash, the better, because you only have one Kaiman. Number 4, we have Mass Dragon. In the comment section, let me know what you guys think about this, because personally, I'm not the biggest fan. Number 1, it needs a normal summon, and number 2, you need to successfully battle with it. I do respect the play that if it does go through, the battle goes through, you get to summon on Chandra, completely dodging Ash, and then you get to do the rest of the OTK completely dodging Ash as well. That I respect. The part that I don't like about it is how easy it is to stop, and the follow is also easy to stop too, because it's likely going to be a Sengen Kaiman from your hand. Okay, so if you declare the attack and then it gets bounced, okay, it gets Mirror Force, it gets removed, any form of removal, because it has to be destroyed by battle to get that trigger. And so Mass Dragon can summon out what exactly here, and it doesn't get anything, and now you play Kaiman, Kaiman gets Ash, and the game is over. So you say they don't have Ash, you summon out your Chandra straight from the deck, and then it gets impermed at this point, and you have nothing to quick synchro into to revive it to kind of dodge it. You have a lot of problems on your hand here, and that's just putting it lightly. So this could completely waste the whole battle phase and a main phase at the same time. So that's why I'm not the biggest fan of Mass Dragon, but if you have something that you want to add to it, leave it down in the comment section. Option number 5, additional sub-engines. I think it's going to be Fiendsmith and Kashtira. These are both big hand trap attracting magnets, and the one hand trap that you're trying to get rid of your opponent's hand 100% is going to be the Ash Blossom. But even if you don't get rid of it, at least these cards offer you some level of interaction with the field at hand without consuming your normal summon. You can summon a Fenrir onto the board, or you can summon out a Unicorn onto the board and then get yourself a Birth, and now you can really mess with your opponent's extra deck, and people consider twice before even trying that out. And what if you go into Fiendsmith? You can go into your Engraver. Engraver can send away a monster, and then you eventually go into Desiree. Desiree giving you that Omni Negate on the board, so one of the cards on the field become useless, and they have to interact with a multi-chain trade to win on that interaction. And say they burn an Ash Blossom, say you go for like a Requiem, they Ash the Requiem. Okay, well then I'm going to now play the rest of my Tenpai stuff, and if I'm holding on to a Kaiman, I'm going to Kaiman when their Ash is already burnt. Feels pretty good. And I definitely consider this option much better than just playing a simple Mass Dragon. Well, that's all I have to say about this topic, but I would love to know if you guys have something to fix your Tenpai deck. Leave it down in the comments section. Help a brother out to fix their Tenpai. But other consideration, take all those hand traps and shove it into other decks, since you already got the most expensive part taken care of, the hand traps. And I guess speaking of hand traps, don't in the near future, if you're not in any rush, don't get into any sort of Furo Wasp purchases, because they're coming out in Quarter Century Stampede. And there's also new Dragon Rulers to help fix this deck, maybe. Or maybe you're gonna go Dragon Maid. I don't know. There's lots of things going on right now. Lots of things for me to read. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you guys want to see more stuff from MST.TV and myself, hit subscribe, ding that notification bell, check out Lord Canada, and I'll see you all in the next one.